Hello, I'm Valerie Stevens, sister to Brad Stevens. And for those of you who follow him and me on Facebook and the gram, you know he just had a role. I'm going to call it his starring role in Chicago PD, and the episode was Impossible Dream. And he played
Bob Hayes, like Bob Hayes, the football player, went to FAMU.
Rattlers.
But it wasn't Bob Hayes. His name was just Bob Hayes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. We just gave a shout out. So Brian, my friend Brian Bishop, hey Brian, suggested that we had a viewing party, and I've never done a viewing party before, and I said cool. So I mentioned it to Brad, and so he put the Zoom together, and we sent out the link. So it was, we invited several people, but actually only 4 people were there, including Brad, but it was fine because it was a really good experience.
Yeah, cool.
So it was Brian, of course, me, Brad, and Marcus.
Marcus Watson in the house.
And Marcus did something really good. He actually turned his computer so that we could see the show as it was on. Of course, I'm watching it in the front room, but Brian had a problem with his cable. And so he had to disengage from the Zoom call to watch it on the phone. And Bradford had a good suggestion that while the show was on, we put it on mute. And so it wasn't that he was just in the beginning. He also was further into the middle. And then you just watch the whole show. So it was a good episode, and I enjoyed it. So I had some questions I wanted to know because it was shot in the wintertime. And this particular past winter here in Chicago, 2021, we had old school snow and old school cold. And they were shooting it. So one of my coworkers, Linda, said, wasn't it crazy seeing the snow? Because most of these shows, especially when they're not filmed like in Chicago or New York, and they're in LA, everything is so, warm and sunny, and that's no temperature difference. So one of my first questions was how you got the gig. How did you find out about the gig?
I auditioned through my agent, Lily's Talent Agency. Auditioned, did a self-tape. And then my agent let me know that I was in consideration. Now, I forget, they break down, let you know you're like in consideration. Keep your cell phone calls. So basically, don't book anything else in case they go with you. They may have other people in consideration as well. Then they got a call back to say that I actually got the part. So that's how I found out that I got the part. And then from there, had the shot like on a Thursday. But that Saturday, I went down to CineSpace Studios. CineSpace Studios is where they shoot Chicago PD, Chicago Med, Chicago Fire. That's where their studios are. So I did my first COVID test that Saturday. Then went back on Monday for my fitting. Every time you went to CineSpace, you had a temperature check and you had a test. The first test was the PCR test, I think. Then after that was the quick test. So I had a test Monday for my fitting. Had a test that Tuesday when they took photos, before I took photos. Had a test that Wednesday for another fitting. Then had another test Thursday before I shot.
And what is the PCR test?
The PCR test is, I guess it's the same thing, but it's the one they do, and it takes like a day or so to get results.
Okay.
And the quick test is the test you get like in 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
So before you can go to the next location, you have to wait for your quick test. And if you test positive, then, you get sent home.
Okay. So you shared something really funny with us that when you did your audition and read the script, there was something that you didn't find out. So share that with our audience.
Well, I didn't realize my character got killed. I just read the size I auditioned with. And then I read the full script, because I was just reading my lines. And one interesting thing, like, different scripts go out like every couple of days. They may update this, update that. Sometimes a change here and there or whatever the case may be. So then when I read the full script, I realized my character got killed. So I didn't know that in the audition. So it was cool. But it was kind of, my makeup artist, she was really cool. She did the makeup for me at least, in terms of the blood work. She was really cool. So.
Okay, so let me ask you this: when in the movie you wear an old school Bulls jacket, so I used to work at Marshall Field's, Macy's, and people from sets like Empire shows, they would come and use our personal shoppers to get gear. So that wasn't a new jacket, so it was used gear? Did you wear your own pants? Like, what exactly happens with wardrobe?
No, they do all the costume. Like, they're pros, so they use all their own costumes. And with the Bulls jacket, the costume department actually made that jacket. So it's
wow.
It was like a regular, like, Letterman jacket, black and red. And when I went in for the fitting, the letters were they had cut the letters out, and they were like taped on to see. And I think the Bulls symbol was taped on. Then later on, they sewed them on. So they actually made that jacket, which was dope. And so, they supply all the costumes. It's a professional gig.
Well, that was really good.
Right. And so, Little Willies.
One thing that I like too, even though, so we were so excited, like, ah! And so when you got killed and we saw that you were dead, I still screamed. I was like, no! And so explain what you were told and who's on set to make sure that looks legit.
Well, they did a couple things. The first time, like Tuesday, they took like still photos. So me and the guy who gets killed in the front, they took both our photos, and they had like a makeshift set. So like, you look at Chicago PD, they have like a police department where the officers are like in a little down low area looking at computers. That's where we took the photos, and they had like a makeshift wall, the same color as a pizza joint, and some a floor that's basically like wallpaper that represented the floor. And so the first shot was just me laying against the wall. And they have a special effects person. She was a young person, like early 20s. And she did the blood, so on and so forth. And they took a picture, sent it to the director. And the first time the director, he was really cool too. He was like, well, a little less blood, a little more blood. Then they would wipe it down, do it again. So that's what it was. And then the actual day of the shoot, they had like, they have representatives, I guess. Like people who actually are police officers or former police officers or work for the fire department to get some authenticity. And they had a guy, I think he was a former police officer, and once he got the idea about how my character got killed, he had the special effects person like splatter the blood like a blood gun. Then he said, I want you to, lean up against the wall, just kind of slide down. So I kind of messed it up at first. He said, no, he's like, all good. It was perfect. So that just slid into position, and I just kind of stayed there. Then they opened the door, the basic idea that the guy shot me, ran out the back door. And it was kind of cold. It was cold that day. And so they asked, are you okay? You cold? So I'm cool. I'm all right. Let's do it. Let's knock it out. And so they knocked out the scene pretty quick. That was the last shot of the day for that day. So they knocked it out pretty quickly. And pretty much just me standing, as much as possible, hitting the same position I was when I took the photos. And at first I had a question as to whether or not I should hold my breath so they wouldn't see me breathe. But they get the shot so quick and they cut away from it so quick that you really can't tell if the person's breathing or not. So that's how they set it up. So
did you hold your breath unconsciously or were you breathing normally?
I tried to slow my breath down, but then it was getting like, so, but they didn't give me a notice to not to breathe, so I just started breathing normally.
Okay, that sounds good. So the first shoot, when you have, actually, because he has lines, and you're talking to the police officer, how many times was that particular scene shot?
Shot a couple times. Like, we practiced it a couple times. I thought it was great how the director and LaRoyce Hawkins, I forget the other young lady's name, Mariana, the two regulars, they were talking about the scene, and it changed up a little bit, just kind of based on the flow. One of the lines, I think she had a line first, and they were having a discussion about that they thought that she would be more of a giveaway going to see this dude with the shooting, right? And the director, I forget his name, he was really cool. He said, well, the cat's already out the bag, the cops are here, so, they're going to know the police are scouring the place. So they have a discussion, and I was kind of laying back, and one of the PAs said, "No, let him in." So we were all in a circle together, which was cool. And they were kind of throwing out ideas. I didn't say much. Kind of like, I'm a guest essentially, right? So they kind of threw out some ideas about the scene. So they threw out the idea, why don't LaRoyce Hawkins go and talk to him? And then when I let him in, that she would kind of sneak in on a sneak tip. So we did a couple times. Ran a rehearsal. said, cool. Then they brought in the crew, and the crew just sat and watched what the scene was. You know, and they were like pros. They just knew, boom, where the camera would go. So the first time they shot it from different sides. Like they shot it from my side first. They could pick up the 2 Chicago PD actors. Then they flipped it and they shot it so they get my point of view. Then they did like a wide shot. And it was cool. And they had like somebody like who dressed the tables. He put down the pizza things, so on and so forth. So, and the director said, you're going to have like this dish, just pick up, like you clean up for the day. So it's kind of like theater from the standpoint. You get your blocking, you're going to do X, Y, Z, but it's really condensed. And then we just knocked it out. You know, and it was cool. Like, a couple times, like, because when you're doing the scene, I wasn't aware of the camera. And so Mariana, whatever, said, well, if you can, scoot over, because when I stopped, I was blocking the camera at first. And I said, cool. So I just made that note, came around, swooped around. They were able to pick up her line. But it's cool, you know.
And interestingly, I didn't even notice that she came into the pizza shop when you were being interviewed.
Right. It was kind of like a quick. They might have cut away from it quickly.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that at all. I just noticed he was in there speaking to you, and you were clearing away the dishes. And my coworker, Linda, said, your brother's such a good actor. She said, but of course you know that. She said, I mean, when he took the card from the police officer, she said, I was watching every detail. He was really, I mean, he studied it, and he was so serious. I laughed. I said, yes. He was. So this is your second time on Chicago PD, and you were there before 2015. Our dad took you down for the costuming and everything. So Daddy got to see that, and go into that character.
Well, the first time I played like a cab driver. I was kind of joking with my friends. I played a cab driver who gets punched in the eye, right? And this time I played a pizza owner who gets killed, and I'm going out like a sucker. Killing me.
Oh, and he had lines. You had lines in that one too,
right? And it was funny because I did the same scene. I acted with the same young lady. She was in that scene as well with another dude. So that was pretty consistent.
And that was so funny because he took a picture of himself in the makeup, because he had a swollen eye. And I don't know, I responded with, keep talking to me, that's going to be real. But explain how the makeup artist created that look, because it looked realistic, the swollen eye.
I don't know. They knocked it out. They did it fairly quickly. And it did look real. Look really good. Like, the makeup is amazing. Like, the makeup artist has, like, some of their work they've done. So they have, like, cuts and stuff like that. She had, like, the makeup artist for the last episode I did.
Impossible Dream.
She has like images of bullet shots, you know what I'm saying, taped to a wall. And then they have an idea about what caliber gun it is. And they have like a similar makeup thing for that particular caliber. So they're really on point. But with the first one I did, I think it was called Aaron's Mom, season 2. The director saw the picture of the black guy and said, well, that's too much. So they ended up taking that away and just gave me like a bloody lip. Yeah. Right, because
that was not only was it a black eye, it was swollen. I mean, it was huge, but they do excellent work. Right. So, but then again, of course, they are professionals, the professional scene. So, would you like to become a regular on the series?
Oh, I mean, I'd like to become a regular on any series. You know, to have that regular paycheck coming in. The way they work with Chicago, you know, the Chicago shows, PD, Med, Fire, they have it set up so, like, if you're like a guest star like me, they have a five-year window. So, like, I was on 5 years ago. So the next time I would be on it, this show is still on, would be like 5 years from now. Primarily so, it's not a situation, well, that guy just played like so-and-so, you know. It's not like back in the day with Good Times. They would have people on. They would play different characters. They'd be the alderman one show, and then get drunk the next show, right? Right. So they want to kind of avoid that. Even so that's why they kind of had that five-year rule. But yeah, it'd be nice to be a regular on the show. Like, one thing a couple of my friends say who do like different shows is that you don't always get a chance to build a rapport with people as a guest, because, you know, you're in and out. How sometimes, like, you know, you kind of feel like an outsider. Some people, I felt really at home. The cast and crew are really, really cool, you know, and I kind of had the idea of being about the business. And you would like to talk to people more in detail, but you're on the set, especially with COVID. But it was a good experience. So yeah, definitely being a regular on the show, having a regular paycheck, and then getting residuals, if it goes to syndication, yes, that'd be dope.
Do you get residuals if this show is in rerun?
You get like residuals. Forget how it breaks down. So like the agent gets 10%. And the way it breaks down is that you get paid. You get paid for being tested. So that's not part of the 10%. And then I should know this, but I forget the breakdown. But every time it airs, the percentage gets a little bit smaller because the checks are a little bit smaller.
Right. So you get paid you were paid for being COVID tested.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's something interesting too.
You get paid for being COVID tested. You get paid for going to costumes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, can you get those roles if you aren't SAG-AFTRA?
You can. You have to you can. Yeah, you can. But at the point in time, you have to join SAG. Right. So I did a commercial a little bit after I graduated, and I was called what they call Taft-Hartley, which means basically it was a union gig. I wasn't in a union yet, but it was a union gig. So it meant the next time I did a union gig, I would have to join the union. Right. And so when I did Chicago PD, from that point on, I would have to join the union. So then when I eventually got the money up to do it, I joined the union.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you have more pay as a SAG-AFTRA member?
Yeah, usually you do. You have more, just more rights, more protection.
And what, when you're in SAG-AFTRA, explain how that helps actors in the future. Well, even currently, when you're working.
Well, things like getting finances. Like, for example, when the pandemic first started, they have like a certain amount of money to give to SAG actors who were struggling. They got like $1,000.
Nice.
Which helped out tremendously. They look out for things like, for example, fighting for contracts. I need to stay on top of stuff. Like, they just passed a contract now about they're working on a bill about being on hold. So basically, like I was talking about, like your consideration. So block out this period of time, and so they worked out something where that time period can only be for so long.
Right, right.
So you can't be on hold for 5 months, turning down other gigs, not knowing if you're going to get this gig. So they work out things in terms of contracts. And have somebody in your corner, something that's not like legit. You can contact SAG-AFTRA and they'll be on it.
What about in reference to Social Security, pension, things of that nature?
Yeah, it includes all that too. But after you make a certain amount, you can qualify for health care. Like I haven't made enough money to qualify for health care, anything like that. Hopefully, not
soon. Woo, woo. So besides that, I want to say thanks for the interview, Brad. I enjoyed it. Also, happy first day of spring. This is March 20th, 2021, and I have my cute little pink flower earrings. We're in the backyard chilling, and I am cold. So, on this note, I want to say peace out.
Peace.
Ooh la la. Yeah.